You know, Bob Marley told us long ago so much trouble in the world and so much is going on in the world that sometimes we forget to focus on the good news. And we have some good news this morning in the form of 11-year-old Sidara Akalloo. Sidara made headline news as a 10-year-old who was diagnosed with acute lymphoblastic leukemia. Still, Sidara defied the odds, wrote the SC exam and passed for her first choice, reminding us that indeed anything is possible. And joining me is Sidara herself and her mother, Simi Akalloo. Good morning, ladies. Thank you so much for joining us on Now.
Hi, good morning.
Good morning.
How are you
It's a
doing this
pleasure to
morning?
be here.
Good.
Good, nice. Sidara, I just have to go to you first. First of all, congratulations on passing for your first choice. I did not tell our viewers what the first choice is. Please tell us what is your first choice. And of course,
My
how does
first
it feel?
choice. It feels good. I'm very proud of myself for getting there and getting my first choice. My first choice was Naparima Girls High School in San Fernando.
Naparima Girls High School. Oh my gosh, that is so amazing. I mean, when you go to Naparima for the first time, what is the first thing that you want to do when you enter those hallways?
Well, when I was in my dad's school, I always used to hang out in the back, and that was like right next to Naprima. And like I would see those swings, and that would be like the first thing I want to do, just swing on the swings.
Wow, that is amazing. Now, how was preparation for the exams? Because I read that you were going through chemotherapy at that point and you had all these books next to you trying to prepare to write this exam. How was that?
Well, it was very hard, but I kept going on because my doctors and my parents, family, friends, all of them, they all gave me the courage and strength to keep doing my work and keep fighting and beating cancer.
Nice. One of the interesting things as well that you said, Sadara, was that you weren't just writing the exams for your relatives or for your mom, but you were writing it for other wards who are at the Eric Williams Medical Sciences Complex. Have you been able to check in with them since?
Yes, I have. Every 2 weeks, I go to clinic and I see a lot of them there, and
Nice.
like I would hang out with them and say hi and stuff like that.
Wow. Now, Simi, I'm bringing you in here, Mom, because I know that you as well had a little bit of anxiety with her writing the exams. I mean, how did you eventually make the decision to allow her to go ahead with it?
Well, we had a lot of anxiety. We left the decision up to Sidara if she would go to Standard 5. She wanted to do it. And based on the way she wasn't doing too well. And we didn't want to take away anything from her that would, you know, make her treatment more challenging. In fact, that exam is what pushed Sidara through because at our ward, many of our children, there were quite a few who were writing the SCA. Sidara was the only one who was able to go through with it. Some of them passed away before that could be done. And, they're just not able to do it. And then we have a 14-year-old and we have a 15-year-old at this point in time. And their CXC exams will also be affected. And we have a majority are very young. And Sidara brought it upon herself to be that, instead of all that negativity, instead of all that sadness, that she wants to show these little ones that there is more to life. And seriously, our nurses and doctors there, they were amazing. Every time we fell, they were just there to pick us up and say, hey, we can do this, we can continue, we can beat it. So it was
So,
really,
yeah. So what I'm hearing as well is that Sadara would have had a strong support system behind her throughout it all.
yes, both in the domestic setting, at school, her principal, Miss Donna uh, Ramjan Khan, her teachers, Miss Trisha, and also what we had when Sidara's story broke. Many teachers, Miss Shireen Bash, Miss Yasmin Bash, Miss Ria Ali, Miss Lakan, they jumped in totally voluntarily. And on weekends, especially, they would guide her throughout her journey. So, it wasn't us alone. And also, both her dad and I are teachers.
Right.
And education is important to us. And we
Yes.
know that, how I should say, that worth of parental support. And we we never let that waver. If she believed in herself, or we believed in her 200%.
Of course. Now, Simi, can you give us a bit more details about the type of cancer that Sidara has in terms of what exactly is it? What are some of the symptoms that she may have experienced?
Well, first of all, my mother passed away from cancer. That was our first interaction with this disease. We really never thought that, about it in children, and that is something that when we went to Mount Hope, it was like a whole new world. And, we really must thank the health professionals there. And up to seriously, I was amazed, up to what you would call the maintenance workers, anti-MAV. They were so supportive, when we were lost. Sidara was very, very active as a child. She did ballet, she did contemporary dance with Auntie Charlene, she did art, you name it, she did it. She was involved in everything. She was even junior calypso monarch at her school. And one day she was doing ballet classes, and when she jumped up to do a play, when she landed on her feet, she fell straight to the ground. And that was it, And we thought, that time online classes were a thing. So we thought she was sitting too long, she wasn't moving enough because she was in standard 4. And the training is very, very, you know, it is heavy.
Yes.
And we when that happened, I said, we had a getting up in classes and walking every hour just to exercise the limbs because we thought she had pulled something. And the normal Trini parents will rub it down. And then a week passed, and she and her brother had planned a fun day at Fun Station, and she couldn't make it when we got there. She was like, I just want to go home. And we realized something was wrong. And yes, she had the fevers, but it wasn't how you should say, it wasn't like, what Trini would say, growing fever.
Yes,
It
yes,
was something like that. So, what
yes.
I want to tell parents is that don't take anything for granted. I have a family member who's a doctor, and she advised me to come up to the hospital. Sidara has never been in the public system before that, and we were a bit, how you should say,
A bit
apprehensive.
taken back by the news. You were surprised by the news initially.
Well,
Yes.
when we went in, the first thing they did was a CBC, and they were like, "You can't go back home." And it was totally shocking. I was like, "Why we can't go back home? I didn't come here to stay." And Dr. Bodkin, Dr. Lalchandani, Dr. Kevin Dindial, they have been total superheroes. Nurse Sylvester, Nurse Harris, and their team,
Yes.
amazing. I wish I could call all of them more than 20 something. So they have totally been. I mean, we had some great doctors who still check in on Sidara.
Of course.
Um,
Now,
have mhm.
yeah, no, I just wanted to ask quickly, Simi, in terms of her experience, because for example, I read that I think you didn't buy her a wheelchair because you wanted to see her walk one day, walk to school and that sort of thing.
Yes,
And so I know her journey would have been tough, and I'm just wondering if it is you can share, some of the things that she may have experienced because she was diagnosed, if I'm not mistaken, last year.
yes,
So
in
that's only been one
April
year. It
19th.
has only been 1 year.
Yes.
Yes.
In that year, Sidara has had, she was one of the first, I believe, because they couldn't recognize it at first. One of the chemotherapy she's using is methotrexate. She was affected with methotrexate neurotoxicity. That is, the chemo started to affect her brain. She lost her memory. It took about 3 months for it to return. And when I mean lost her memory, you don't even know your name. It was it was really hard. She couldn't, how you should say, she couldn't attend classes. She also had pancreatitis a few times, at least 3 times. She had pneumonia. So when you look at that year, and then she stopped walking because of another chemotherapy, which is vincristine. Sidara still does not walk well. But one of her goals, and I think that we never bought the wheelchair because we never believed that our child would be, confined to it. And we wanted her in her mind to know, you will walk again. I'm not going to place you in that wheelchair to get comfortable. It will happen. And so too, as I said, our medical team, they were amazing in
Of course.
ensuring that we had all we needed.
Of course. Sadara, I am curious to know, how did you keep moving through that year? Because mom just mentioned that you had memory loss, that you weren't able to walk, and then here you are going to school, going to online school. You're doing chemotherapy on one hand, you have to, take your classes on the other hand, and still pass for your first choice. What was this journey like?
It was painful. It was very hard, but to be honest, I think the thing that helped me the most was God, because I pray a lot. My parents, they always got me back up. Like sometimes I was very lazy to do my work. They would help me, and they would tell me, "Come on, we have to do this." And they would remind me that we are doing this for the ward children, because some of them are very ill, and it's
I
I
understand.
really want to help them.
Yeah,
That's all.
of
I'm doing
course.
this for them. When I passed for naps, I was like, I did it. I made them happy. I made them very proud, because when they heard that I passed for naps, they all were screaming and crying, and they called me and they was, Sidara, you passed for naps. And like they was just so I was just so proud of myself, and I'm so happy that I did it for them and I got through.
Right. Now, Sidara, when you said that you did it for them, they as well, were they of the age to write essay? And is it that among the five, you were the only one who were able to actually complete the exams?
Yes, but no, most of them weren't around my age. They are actually younger than me. They are like from how old, mommy? I don't know how old they are. Like 6 or something.
Right.
Six,
Okay.
yeah, about
Okay.
6 to
Six to eight.
nine,
Six to
around there.
nine.
But there
Wow.
were five who were supposed to write the exam. At least I think about three passed away.
Okay.
Um, and that is the sad thing about this disease, is that you never know when it's your turn. One of our good friends passed away just Saturday. We are still reeling from that. A young lady, she is age 13, and she never got that chance to go into secondary school. She passed, but she was diagnosed right after the results, and we were busy preparing for that. And this part, Sidara's quest for education is so much, means so much to all these children, because most times it stunts their educational growth. And that is something that needs to be looked at in this country, because Sidara went through so much, and she was successful. These children have so much, how I should say, so much ability. As an educator myself, I see them there, and more must be done. If it wasn't for online classes, I know people bash the online classes a lot, but if it wasn't for online classes, Sidara would not have been able to compete, I have to say, because it's a big competition. She wouldn't have been able to sit that exam. Um, so something, I think that program could be put in place for children like these who cannot come to these physical schools. I think Sidara, from what our nurses say, Sidara is the only child to write the exam while in treatment. Usually they write it before, or they have to defer for at least 2 years or so, because their treatment is 2.5 years for leukemia. So, this is a landmark, something for our children, for our ward, and we are happy to be that example, to show these children that your life, cancer does not have to be a death sentence. It can
Of
just be a
course.
beginning.
Simi, you touched on something there, and I really, really have to ask. You are a teacher, I believe, at Rio Claro West Secondary. How was it to balance with the online classes, because this would have been during the pandemic, and also give the attention, to Sidara that she needs? Simi? Hello? Sidara, are you there? Simi, you hearing me? Right. So I was asking, you touched on education, and I think it's so important that you did, because I know that you are actually a teacher at Rio Claro West Secondary. And so
Yes.
this thing happened during the pandemic. And so how were you
Yeah,
able
we
to
can hear
balance?
you. We can hear
Yes.
you.
You can you still hear me? Yeah?
Yes, I could hear now. I
Okay,
just
all right,
reconnected.
Sidara. So I think mommy is having issues, but since I have you, what is the one thing that you've learned, and any advice that you want to give to anybody who's listening right now?
Well,
It-
what I
okay, you go ahead, sis.
okay. Our situation is not our destination, and to keep your eyes on the prize and do not give up. That's what I want to tell them. Because, like, sometimes you need somebody to tell you that because, they're probably on the brink of giving up.
Short and sweet. I will remember that, Sidara. Mommy, I was asking you about the education question, but also too, I know that you are practicing Hindus, and there would have been an outpouring of love from everybody across the country. Did that
Yes.
change your view on humanity? Did you walk away with anything different from this experience?
Well, we are Hindus, yes, but we are also. I grew up as a Christian, so we have taught our children to be accepting of all religions, all people, because I am also from a mixed family. So they have learned that. Um, we have been humbled by the national and international outpour of love towards Sidara and our family. We never thought something like this, we would be a part of something like this. Humbling is the only word I can think of. As far as where my job is concerned, I actually um, I I have contemplated resigning. It is not easy, and our system really does not allow. While I am a good teacher, in my opinion, my students will say that it has not been easy to balance both, especially when Sidara has been really badly affected by this disease. The not walking part was the worst. We had to carry her. I had to physically carry her, lift her like a baby for months because in our ward we can't. How you should say, boy, we can't. Only one parent is allowed. No
Right.
visitors. Because our children are immunocompromised.
Of course. Simi,
So yes.
I may have to have you in again to continue this conversation, but I just want to thank you so much for coming in. I know that you had, I think was a relative or somebody, well, your mom would have passed, so of course, condolences goes out to your family. Congratulations goes out to Sidara. I can't wait to see you in your school uniform for September as you walk into NAPS as a new student. So thank you so much for joining us on the Now Morning Show.
Thank
No
you and
problem.
have a great
Thank
day.
You
you. Bye.
too.
Have a great day.
And that was Simi and Sidara Akalloo. Sidara, of course, is the cancer patient who would have survived and passed for her first choice. You know, the Now Morning Show coming up next, we're going to check in with that doctor that we mentioned earlier on the show. So stay with us.